Okay, this could be one of the shortest songs I've ever taught you, all along the Watchtower. And this is a Bob Dylan song, and I believe it was on his John Wesley Harding LP. I'm pretty positive it was on that one. And but as a young man, I did buy that album. I didn't buy a lot of Bob Dylan albums, but I did buy that one, mainly maybe because it had this song on it, because I loved the Jimi Hendrix version, which was more like bar chords. Yeah. So now the Bob Dylan, I'm pretty sure, almost positive that he played that and recorded it with a capo on the fourth fret, and that puts it in C sharp minor, which is neither here nor there. It might have been because he could just sing it better in that key, but it does give it a kind of a brightness. Now, there's not a lot to this song, but there is a lot to it. It's not as easy as it might seem. For one thing, there is a full bar chord on F. If you're not familiar with that, we've had that a little bit in the book. If we've done the Jimmy Buffett song Come Monday, we had an full F chord. Also the primary chords in the key of C had an F and then a G7, like that. So it's like F is really just like an E chord. If you had your regular E chord like we do, like Peggy Sue or Summertime Blues, it's fingered with 2, 3, and 1. If you substituted 3, 4, and 2 and made the same chord and then moved it up a fret, adding your first finger as a bar, it's really an E chord shape moved up 1 fret, and it makes it an F chord. Okay? So, and you may have trouble with that chord if you're not familiar with doing full bar chords. This is the first full bar chord that I teach, is F. And we'll have it in the Jimmy Buffett song Come Monday, as well as some of the theory stuff like the 1, 4, 5 chords in the key of C. But anyway, on to the difficulties of this song is, now you're doing a regular A minor, and it's just down, down, up, down. So far, so good. And then you're doing an upstroke on just the first 3 open strings, and then fingering a G chord with just 2 fingers. We're not even going to bother putting the pinky on the top of the G chord, but just hit in the bass. If you only hit 3 strings, that's okay. That's what I got written there, is 3 strings open, and then so it's kind of like really makes a G6 chord, but really you don't want to think of it that way. You want to think of it as sort of a passing chord, like that. And then on the F chord, instead of getting the whole chord fingered and then hitting it, that's going to slow you down. What I would do is I would bar all the way across, but I would only add the second finger for the upstroke, and then add the third and fourth fingers as you strum the bass, because you're strumming an upstroke on the treble, like we did on G. We hit the open strings, and then we're going to hit the treble bass strings on the F. So you could finger, you don't have to feel like you've got to have all the fingers down before you start that chord. If you do, you may end up being late, like every time. So just grab it like this. So I got my third and fourth fingers up in the air, but they're getting ready because you don't really have much time before you got to put them down. It's just up, down, and that's when you put them down, up, down. So it's like A minor again, A minor, down, up, down, open, up, G, F, down. Okay? And so I would just practice that first measure, getting to the downbeat of the second measure, which is the full F. Okay? And just go through the motions, especially that like if you looked at the third and fourth beats, 3 and 4 and 1. Just practice that very deliberately. 3 and 4 and 1. Okay? And then on the F, you stay on the F much like you did on the A minor. You're just staying on the F, 2 and 3. So that's still all F. And then open strings, G. And then this, I think, is the hardest chord change. You almost have to finger the whole A minor to do the upstroke, because you have to have your third finger on the third string. You can't just do first and second fingers. It would be easier if you could do that. You could do that, but we won't do that. Okay? So it's like F, down, up, down, open, G, A minor, and then you loop back to the beginning. There's only 2 measures basically in this whole song of chords, and it's so when you go from the F, 2 and 3 and G, A minor, A minor. So you have to go, your third finger is going to have to hop from the 6th string 3rd fret to the 3rd string 2nd fret. It's going to have to really get there quick. You could wait and put your second finger down when you hit the downbeat. You could just do 1st and 3rd if you want. Okay, but I think that's the hardest change, that G, or up, down on G, up, down on A. So you might just go over those very slowly. I usually finger the whole chord on the A minor. It's awkward either way you do it. It's mainly just that the third finger has to hop like that. Okay? So there's not a lot to this song, but again, there is a lot to it. So to do it smoothly, and you want to kind of think light, because if you dwell on things too much or overthink it, it's just going to sound real heavy and slow and sluggish. You want to, if you notice how I was playing it. I'm doing light brushy strums. I'm holding the pick more at the top. And then you can put on your best Bob Dylan, and there must be some kind of way out of here, said a joker to the thief. There's too much confusion, I can't get no relief. Businessman, he drinks my wine, plowman digs my earth. None of them along the line know what any of it is worth. And then if you're Hendrix, it's been a while while since I've played it, but I knew that lick. But and I'm not, I'm not trying to make fun of Bob Dylan. I think of myself, as a Bob Dylan imitator, actually. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. Bob Dylan was a genius and wrote some of the best songs of my generation, or even. He was an slightly older generation than me, but just a wonderful artist. And he was a chameleon. It was sort of like David Bowie. Every album was something new and unique. He didn't like to, stay stagnant, and that hurt him in the beginning of his career because he was an acoustic folk singer, folk songwriter, and then he came out with an electric band. He had the Paul Butterfield Blues Band with the great Michael Bloomfield on guitar at a folk festival in the 60s, and it created a big scandal. A big scandal. And then he went on tour with Robbie Robertson and the band. And you should watch the Martin Scorsese documentary on Bob Dylan. It's 3 hours long, or 3.5 hours long. But you get a sense of when he, after he became really famous. He was super famous. And he'd go on the road and he would be booed constantly. And that's got to really work against you, Now I'm accustomed to playing like in my blues band, and blues is kind of a special niche in my town here of Lexington, Kentucky. I played one bar, Cheapside Bar, for 23 years, and sometimes it would be totally packed with people, and we would play our butts off, and after the song, when we'd finish a song, it would be almost just dead silence, or not just crowd noise, it wasn't silence, but people were, more interested in the sports that was on the TVs than into listening to music. Maybe out of 100 people, we would have anywhere from 2 to 5 people that were actually listening to the music out of 100. And so I got used to it. It really creates a kind of humility, in that, you don't expect a lot of applause. And I would get applause in the middle of a song, and I would think it was for me, and it was because the UK Wildcats had made a great play on TV, and they were applauding that, So, but that's nothing like getting booed constantly through a show, and that's what Bob Dylan went through in those first years. So have fun with this one. I'm sorry I got long-winded, and I was scarred for life myself when people didn't clap, but I'm still here. I still woke up the next morning. Actually, it was a good training ground, really, because when I perform now, I don't expect a response at all. I'm conditioned that way, and it's a good thing in a way, because I know some performers, if they don't see interaction with the audience, then they don't do a good show. And I do as good a show if there's no response, and maybe even a better show if there's no response, because I'm working harder to get a response than if everybody's just clapping and acting like teenage fans, which doesn't happen to me very often. But so again, I'm very humble about it. So have fun, and subscribe to John Hedger Guitar Studio, and go to Facebook and look up John Hedger Guitar Studio page and give me a like. Also give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it. All Along the Watchtower, great song, wonderful song. And listen to the Jimi Hendrix version too. Bob Dylan liked that version quite a lot as well. So take care. We'll see you next time.